Office workers are coming back in much bigger numbers now that the COVID-19 numbers have dropped significantly. But the pandemic has forever changed the world in so many ways. Will the traditional 9-to-5 office job return, or is that over? We are joined by Stephen Davis. He is a professor at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. Good morning to you. Good to see you.
Good morning. Great to see you.
So you've been studying working from home since this pandemic started. Let's get into some of what you've seen during this time. How big of the workforce was doing that remotely, and what did you learn?
Sure. Well, in March, April 2020, right after the pandemic struck, I think more than half the workforce was doing that. Now it's down to more like 30% across the country as a whole. But for office workers, as you mentioned earlier, it's even lower. So latest numbers in Chicago suggest office occupancy rates are only at 35% of what they were before the pandemic.
Wow.
So we're still quite a ways off.
So what do you think is going to happen? So we have people who are at home watching, they're working and they're watching. What do you want them to know about what the future of 9-to-5 in the office is?
Sure. So office work's not dead, but the new emerging norm for many office workers and many companies is some kind of hybrid working arrangement where they're in the office 2, 3, 4 days a week, and the rest of the week they're working remotely. That's what most workers seem to want, and that's what employers have been gradually warming to over the past year and a half or so. Not all employers, but most employers are kind of gradually warming to this, either because they find it works better than they expected and their employees are happier, or simply because they're compelled by market realities that they want to recruit and retain talent.
Right.
They have to accommodate this desire.
Right, because people want flexibility, right? Now we've seen, I think, was it Google was one of them, we've seen some really large companies give up like thousands of square feet of workspace because they're still keeping it, but they seem to be kind of making it smaller because of hybrid and because they realize they can actually save money themselves. So is it a benefit to the companies as well?
It can be a big benefit, and partly because you can say to your employee, look, you might get a smaller raise this year than otherwise, but we're going to let you work from home 2 or 3 days a week. And we understand that's something pretty valuable to you. Another way it's beneficial to companies is they can expand the geographic reach of their search for talent. If people only come into the office 2 or 3 days a week, then they might be willing to come from 50 miles away instead of 10 miles away to the office. And so there are benefits for companies if they figure out how to take advantage of them.
So as you sit back and see the information you've received from the research that you have done, and you look into your crystal ball, you said hybrid is the place to be, huh?
Place to be where it's feasible. If you're an outdoor construction worker or you're a bartender, well, then hybrid's not for you. But a good chunk of the workforce does have the ability to work remotely at least part of the time. I think that will become the norm in the sectors where it's feasible.
I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. Stephen Davis, professor at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Thanks for joining me. A lot of people happy to hear what you have to say. You take care.
You too.
The president